What is up? Surprise! We're doing a AMA today. There's a piece of dust floating around my room. I thought it was a fly. Thought I was going to have to kill a fly. Welcome to something that I haven't done in 4 years. I think the last AMA I did, actually it's probably been longer than 4 years since my last AMA. I think I did one in 2014. So going on 8 years since I've done one of these. This is a total surprise. I thought this would be fun. We've been doing a bunch of live streams here on this channel. I'm kind of obsessed with live streaming. I believe it is the most exciting frontier on the internet as far as entertainment goes. So I'm kind of diving in headfirst into all this live streaming. Of course, the first project was the anonymous live streams, which are still going. And you guys have been asking for more fun streams to kind of complement the anonymous live streams, which is totally cool and understandable. So this has been a popular suggestion to do another AMA, and I'm one-upping that with a surprise AMA and a show and tell. I've got some things I want to show and tell about related to my videos. I have not even, this is such a surprise, I've not even told my mods I'm doing this. So I have no idea if anyone here is gonna, I have no idea what to expect from this stream, but I just thought this would be fun, and I thought it would make some fun evergreen content, because we're gonna be talking about a lot of fun stuff today. We're gonna go for about an hour and a half. At any point in this stream, you can ask me anything. We'll kind of have two parts to this live stream. The first part is gonna be, I'm gonna do some show and tell while we wait for people to kind of get into the stream, because again, I haven't advertised this to anyone, including my mods. Oh, I see two of my mods are here. Offcore and Deanna Krebs are here. Hello, mods. Surprise to the mods, even. But we're gonna get into some show and tell first, just to allow people some time to get in, and then the AMA will kind of occupy the second half of the stream. So with that being said, I'll give you guys kind of a rundown of the kinds of things I'll be showing and telling about. Thank you for those super chats, Skadger and Jade and Man 98. Thank you guys. So we're going to. I've got so many props and things from my videos that are just these random weird things that have become random weird things on my channel that have too many good stories to not share. And I thought you guys would get a kick out of knowing the history behind some of these things. So to give you some examples, today I've got Jeffrey's, my cousin Jeffrey's original pair of glasses after he ate the jellyfish. His prescription naturally changed quite dramatically after ingesting the jellyfish, which the backstory on that, you can see a reenactment of that on Oh Jeffrey, the video called Oh Jeffrey. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, you can revisit that. But after he ate the jellyfish, his glasses prescription changed quite dramatically. And so I have here today Jeffrey's original pair of glasses. We're going to talk about that and where they came from. And I also have the prop jellyfish that we had made by a professional Hollywood prop maker. We couldn't actually have Jeffrey eat another jellyfish, so we had to have a prop for the reenactment. I've got those here, and there's a fun story behind those. I've got Kill You. Yes, I just said Kill You. It's not a threat. It's the ridiculous weapon from Mr. Tim and Kill You. I've got Kill You here, and there's a hilarious story behind the origins of Kill You. And I've got a couple fan props that are decorating this set that people have asked about hundreds of times at this point, maybe thousands, including this milk container, which has an interesting story behind it, and some things behind me on the shelf. So there's all kinds of things we're going to get into in the show and tell, and then we'll do some AMA for the last half of this stream. But like I said, at any point, if there's a question you have that you want to be included in the AMA, you can put it in the chat. Just bear in mind that I can only scroll back so far from what I see here to see questions. It won't let me go back to the beginning of the stream. So if you post a question now, I might not be able to see it, but at least our mods would see it. and might be able to kind of help us get back to you if you had a good question. So that's going to be the rundown here. We're gonna begin with Kill You, because it's the most evocative name of any of these props, for starters. My kids just think Kill You is hilarious because it's the dumbest thing in the world, and the story behind it's really funny. It's behind me here on the shelf. I've got to grab it. Give me a second. So this is Kill You. Some of you may or may not even know what the hell this thing is. If you're a fan of Mr. Tim, you know exactly what this is. Does anybody recognize this thing? I'm just curious, like how out of left field this is coming. Does anybody know what this is? Give you a good rotation on Kill You here. Okay, yeah, people remember Kill You. All right, so Kill You has a hilarious story behind it. This was built by me and my cousin Garrett, who is an engineer. I won't say where Garrett's an engineer, just for the sake of his own privacy. I don't know if he'd want me to share that here. But Garrett's a brilliant engineer for a massive, massive company that everyone here would definitely know about. He builds like crazy stuff. And he is... I built Kill You with Garrett, my cousin, who's one of my lifelong best friends. We were born in the same year and grew up together. And we built this as grown-ass men. And the joke is kind of maybe hard to understand, but this is actually Kill You version 2.0, and I've never disclosed any of this anywhere. Kill You made an appearance in Mr. Tim and Kill You, when we just kind of threw it in as a funny prop. We thought it'd make a funny Mr. Tim video. But Kill You 1.0 was built. It was not nearly as pretty as this one. Not nearly as functional either. There are some functionalities of Kill You that none of you have seen, because we didn't go over the full functionality of Kill You in the Mr. Tim video. So there's some things Kill You can do that have never been disclosed before. And yes, this is just like, this whole thing is a total joke. Of course, like, look at this thing. It's like the ricketiest weapon you've ever seen. Like, can you even call it a weapon? It's my question. But Kill You 1.0 was built when I was like 16, or I might have been 15 or 16 years old. And Garrett and I built that one together as well. It was not nearly as robust as this one, mind you. But we thought it would be hilarious to have a weapon called Kill You that was like a horrible weapon that had no practical utility and wasn't even dangerous. We thought it would be the funniest thing to build a weapon that was not even dangerous. And so that's what Kill You is philosophically. But Kill You 2.0 got a pretty robust upgrade, and I've never shown this anywhere. So I wanted to kind of start with this one. It has the kill switch here. The kill switch, it's a very serious, you got to lift this little red flap. Okay, now Kill You's on. And then there are some buttons on the handles here, which over time, some of these buttons have actually, some of the pads for the buttons have fallen off. You can see there's a red button pad here, and this one doesn't have one, and this one doesn't have one. That's just because Kill You's getting very old. But Kill You will live forever, because Kill You is very well built, as you're about to see. Here's the inside of Kill You. Kill You runs on 2 lantern batteries. Kill You has a computer chip inside that controls its LED. There's a strobe function on the LED. This is very high-tech stuff, guys. If I do say so myself, there's some very high-tech stuff here. But the whole joke is that, like, we actually took time to build this thing, and, like, Garrett programmed a computer chip inside that controls an LED. And, like, we went through all these great lengths to make Kill You actually seem like something people might want. But at the end of the day, like, nobody wants a Kill You, because it's not a very good weapon. That's the whole joke of Kill You. So Kill You, in short, is much older than the Mr. Tim video. It goes back to when I was like 15 or 16. And I thought it would be hilarious to just have Kill You 2.0 make a cameo in the Mr. Tim video. So now I'll walk into some of the features. Of course, it has the blade, Very dangerous blade. This blade is powered by a blender motor that we repurposed. This little front panel here, this metal, is from a can of peas. We needed some metal to attach all this stuff together, so I had the idea that we could get it from a can of peas that I had, and it worked. This thing's pretty old now, and I can't believe it even still works. So of course it's got the blade, and the whole point of the philosophy of each function is just to be ridiculous. Like, we've got a light here, an LED light in case you're attacking someone. You're attacking someone in the dark, and then you can strobe the light to confuse them, disorient them in the dark, so they don't see it coming. And then Kill You even has this little black thing on top, which we never featured in the Mr. Tim video either. This is actually a riding lawnmower horn, so you can alert people when you're about to attack them. And for some reason, the horn is giving me some trouble. Let me check the wiring inside. It's been like a good 10 years since I've even fired this thing up. Let's see if I can get the horn working, because it's hilarious. There it is. We've got Kill You needs a new soldering job. The solder has worn off, but that's the horn you're hearing. That's to alert people, so they know you're about to attack them, which again, of course, defeats the whole purpose. The Kill You's just an entire, it's a total joke, but it's a work of art. Kill You's going to need some medical attention on that soldering job. Okay, so I'm not able to keep up on what the chat's saying at this point, but I'm trusting that this is stuff that is interesting. I hope I don't bore anybody here. I've got some things that I thought, like, again, I've never shared any of this anywhere, because the nature of my channel has just been like, you just release random stuff and then just let people make of it what they will. But I hope this is enjoyable. I thought this would be fun. Okay, so next up we've got this thing that's been on this desk and in every live stream I've done in the last few months. This is a Malk container that is, it's an origami Malk container that a fan sent me in 2000, it must have been 2010 or 2011. It was like right after Malk came out. And I had a P.O. box where I would, I had a separate channel, and all these videos, I don't even know if they're up anymore, honestly, but I had a P.O. box where fans would send things, and I would open cool packages in certain videos, and kind of do a show and tell kind of thing. And this thing has become the biggest conundrum to me, because I don't honestly remember I have no record keeping of who made this. It says to Julian here on this tag, which I don't know if you can see. Whoever made this took the time to write that it was to me, but there's nothing on the other side. There's no indication on this actual piece of art who made this. And on the back, it's even got like nutrition facts. I mean, like, look at this thing. This thing's amazing. I have taken such good care of this because this thing is so impressive. Like, somebody took the time to make this out of paper, and this thing is it's at least a decade old at this point. And I've kept very good care of it because I've taken very good care of it over all that time, because it's just like so hilarious. If anybody knows who made this, if you made this and you're watching this, please comment and tell us your name or like what you're up to, because this thing, I've just loved this thing from the very beginning. It's one of the very few fan art submissions that have actually ever been featured anywhere on this channel. In any kind of extended way. So, yeah, that's this Malk container you guys keep asking about. You can't buy this anywhere. I see a lot of comments, people asking, like, where can I get one of those? This is the only one. You can't get this. That's why I've taken such good care of it, because it's like, whoever made this, like, is just my hero, my absolute hero. It's hilarious. So, yeah, if you're watching this, leave a comment if you made that. because I want to know. And you got to prove it too. Don't just say you made it. You got to be able to prove it somehow. Okay, so next up, we've got the jellyfish that Jeffrey ingested in the reenactment of his actual ingestion of the jellyfish. I've got it right here. I had these made by Clark Schaefer. If you Google Clark Schaefer, you're gonna find a massive body of work on movies like Iron Man. I'm really bad at filmographies, but I know at the time I met Clark, he was the lead prop maker for Iron Man. And Clark is like he's a very talented guy, but he specializes in miniatures and practical effects. So like the way he's an old school prop guy. He was back in the day. I mean, Iron Man is definitely one of his biggest projects, but like back in the day, he was the guy you would call if you needed like an explosion in a town. You know, before you could do that in CGI on a computer, Clark would build it practically in a really small scale and then make it look real to a camera. So anyways, we had Clark make these jellyfish, which have not been lubricated because they've just been in this FedEx box that they actually shipped to me in when they were finished. This is the original box they came in. These jellyfish have not been lubricated, but when lubricated with Vaseline or something like that, they look very convincing. They're still in very good shape. I've taken very good care of these too by leaving them in the original FedEx box. But yeah, this is the fish. This is the jellyfish Jeffrey ate for that reenactment in Oh Jeffrey, and there's 2 of them, I believe. Let's see. I think there's another one in here. I should really hang these up somewhere. These would be cool to hang up behind in the background behind me. Here's the baby jellyfish. So these are quite amazing. I don't know if it translates, but these things they look pretty real. Again, when lubricated, which they are not right now. I probably haven't even taken them out of this box since we made Oh Jeffrey. Okay. Also, Clark made something else that's not been in a video before, but he made I have to show this because it was so cool. It's behind me. I met Clark because he sent me a bobblehead that he handmade. There's only one of these, and he made it. This is my bobblehead. And this thing, I've also taken very good care of this, but I have moved so many times that I've had to super glue and epoxy certain parts of this thing. But this is me, and there's Clark Schaefer's autograph, his signature right there. I met Clark because he sent me this to my P.O. box, again, back in the day when I had a YouTube channel, or a P.O. box where I would feature fan submissions, fan art through my second YouTube channel. But what makes this thing so cool is not just that it was a handmade bobblehead and there's only one of them, but also that these hands are removable. I'm doing it very delicately. This thing's very old. These hands are removable, and I can't, I do have the other hands somewhere. I believe they're in storage, but I have chosen to just permanently affix this hot Kool-Aid pot to my hand here. But there's another hand that has a jellyfish sandwich, and there's another hand that has a, what does it have? I think it's a glass of milk or something. But anyways, yeah, this thing is, I have kept this thing. This thing is also over a decade old at this point, and I just absolutely love this. Like, this is like some serious, look at my hair. It's like some serious handwork there, handiwork. It's like hand chiseled, or I don't even know how he makes this. But yeah, that's the work of Clark Schaefer. He did the jellyfish, and he made this. Amazing artist. Okay. I've missed a couple super chats. Thank you, Bubbly Pixie and Glizzy Gladiator, for those super chats. You guys are awesome. Okay, so now we are up to these right here, what I hold in my hand, are Jeffrey's original glasses after eating a jellyfish. And the story behind these glasses is just as epic as Jeffrey's personal story, because these glasses are not just any glasses. These glasses just so happened to work for Jeffrey, and there have been different Jeffrey glasses, but these are the originals. These are OG. And the reason the story behind these glasses is so funny is that these glasses actually are my ex-wife's glasses, my former wife's glasses. They just so happened to fit Jeffrey's needed prescription so perfectly at the right time in the right place that Jeffrey used these for a good few years before. Yeah, that maybe that's illegal. I don't know. I'm sure it's not like criminal. It's definitely not criminal. But yeah, I mean, these are very high power glasses, and Jeffrey needed these for many years. And they're my former wife's glasses. How funny is that? Now they're the property of Jeffrey in Papertown. It's quite a story. I've never said anything. I've never mentioned any of this anywhere. So I don't know if I'm boring anyone, but these stories are just too funny not to mention. So these are Jeffrey's original glasses. Who's Jeffrey? Jeffrey's my cousin, Jeffrey Dallas, from Jellyfish, and Red Eye Flashes Twice, and Waffles. Those are a few of his most favorite videos. Okay, so let's see. What else do I have here? There was some other stuff. Where was it? Where did I put it? And I fully acknowledge I'm admittedly the worst streamer ever. It's just part of my. I'm the worst everything ever. The presentation is somewhere. I've got other things that I was going to talk about, and I can't remember where I've put them. I apologize. This is not from a video, but there's a funny story about something else behind me on the shelf. I'll share this. Hang on one second. This is a singing bowl. I love singing bowls, and this one was so pretty. I found this in a cool shop in downtown LA in 2015, I think it was. And I had always been intrigued by singing bowls. And I saw this one, and it spoke to me. And I thought, I'm going to buy this. And I picked it up in the shop, and for a good, 15 minutes, I was trying to figure out how to do it. I was just, doing it way too fast, and I couldn't figure it out. And this sweet lady came up to me as I was struggling to figure out how to get this thing to sing. And she's watching me just, violently try to get this thing to make some noise. And she says, she says, "Do you have patience?" It's literally her verbatim words to me. "Do you have patience?" And then she told me that the trick was to relax and funnel my energy into the center of the bowl, not the edge. That was the trick that actually taught me to get a singing bowl to sing. I was trying to focus on the cadence of the rotation. And she was like, no, it's about sending your energy into the center of the bowl and just focusing and having patience. And it's supposed to be a relaxing thing. And again, this is not a prop from my videos, but it's been behind me on the shelf for some time. So, the trick to a singing bowl is to just give it a little tap. And I have headphones on, so I can't even hear if I'm doing it right, but see if I can get it to sing. I'm going to take the headphones off. I don't know how that picks up on the mic, but that's how you get a singing bowl to sing. I couldn't hear any of that, but I trust the mic picked it up. this is the only remaining lens behind me on the shelf. I had a bunch up there originally, but the significance of these lenses, specifically this one and another one that is apparently not up there anymore, were lenses from my original video that I used to shoot my original videos from 2006 to 2014, roughly. This is a 300 millimeter telephoto lens that was used for a lot of long shots. Pretty much any of the long shots you saw on past videos came from this guy. And there's another one that was used, a wide-angle lens, which is a 24 millimeter. We called it the Jack Bauer on set of all the videos. Hand me the Jack Bauer was common vernacular on my YouTube videos back in the day. But these lenses that are up there on the shelf are lenses that shot all my old videos from 2006 to 2014. So I can't find the other one, but that's the idea of them being up there. So, that appears to be all I have set out. There are other things that I thought I had set out to get to, but I don't see them. So, I must have either set them aside for some reason and forgotten, or they might be in storage. I'm also in the middle of moving, so there was probably some things that we'll probably do a part 2 to this once I get to my storage unit and get settled in my new place. Which is going to take some time, but once that happens, we might do a part 2 of this, because there's so many other props like these that have funny stories behind them. Is this stuff that's interesting? Would you guys like to see more of this? If I can find some more props, is this fun? Would you guys like to see that? More of this? I'll hold here for some responses. Okay, great. So yeah, I'll get to the storage unit, get some things out. I mean, a lot of these things just don't see the light of day anymore unless they're on the shelf, or, so I just put them in storage to take care of them. I've also got Mr. Tim's outfit, which I was trying to find today, but that one's definitely in storage. So, yeah, there's all kinds of things we could talk about here, funny stories behind these props. Okay, so let's go into some AMA. We're going to be doing this for about another hour. We'll go till about 5 o'clock. I've got to run it around 5 o'clock. So we'll do about 45 minutes to an hour of AMA, and we'll see what happens. Okay, this is a great question from Rebecca Burlew. How did you get the idea for Eat Randy? I've been curious for years. This is another great story. Eat Randy was a piece of music that I wrote in 2010. I wrote the instrumental track. It was the song as a song. The music itself existed for years before I ever put it out as Eat Randy. The only lyric that I had for this piece of music was the chorus, I'd rather eat Randy. And there was no context. Like, I had the music just came to me. I heard this really old 80s soundtrack in my head one day, and I kid you not, the lyric that was in my head the only lyric I could write to this song for 3 years or 4 years before I actually wrote the whole thing was I'd rather eat Randy. All I knew was that this song had to be called I'd rather eat Randy. And I could not figure out how to justify eating Randy in the other lyrics. I just sat on it for years. But the whole song was finished, basically. The whole chorus, the whole song was finished and the chorus was written for years. And then I had, in 2013, I had hired one of my buddies, one of my oldest friends, Josh Lovell, to come out to LA and work with me on YouTube sketches. This would have been like 2013. So we would have brainstorming meetings once a week where we would think about like video ideas. And one day in this brainstorming meeting, I turned to Josh and I was like, Josh, I've got this piece of music and a really weird chorus, and I feel like we gotta like figure out how to finish this thing, because it's been driving me nuts for years. And that very week in 2013, I believe it was, Josh and I fleshed out the rest of the song together. And Josh is the waiter in Eat Randy, for those who may not know. He's also Josh from Malk, the guy with the glasses that's screaming with all of us. So yeah, that's the story behind Eat Randy. Literally, it was called Eat Randy, and that's all it was. The only lyric was Eat Randy for several years. And then one day, it just came out. And to this day, that's definitely one of my favorite videos on the channel. Okay, we're going to scroll back and look at some of these other questions. I admittedly won't be able to get to every question, but I'll try to answer as many as I can. What was the inspiration behind Techno Jeep? I don't have that Jeep anymore. That Jeep just made so many crazy noises, and they sounded way too synth-like. Every time I would move my seats in the Jeep, it made that Jeep was a trooper. I drove everywhere in that Jeep. I drove to New York twice from Tennessee, and then I moved to LA with it, and it was my first car in LA for a couple years when I first moved there. And the noises this thing made were just unbelievable, and I couldn't not make some music out of it. Why did I stop making videos? Great question. I've answered this before. This question comes from, hang on, I lost it. Who said that? I just had it. Why did you stop posting? Okay, from Lucas. From Lucas in the chat. Yeah, I stopped making videos for several reasons. First of all, anybody who's been subscribed to me since the early days, since before 2010, will tell you that I kind of have this weird cadence with YouTube where I've never had a really consistent release schedule. The first year I released a video every week. I think that was 2007. I released one video every week for 52 weeks. And then outside of that, the schedule became really inconsistent. And I've taken all these breaks from YouTube. There's several reasons. Again, the main reason is that I came from a production background. I've run a production company since longer than I've had a driver's license. I didn't get my driver's license late or anything. I've been working in production, since I was living at my parents' house. It's something that I've always been passionate about, running creative and production for storytelling. So coming from a production background into YouTube, there have been several chapters in my YouTube career where I've taken breaks because I just get the itch to collaborate with other people on a for hire basis. And it never makes sense, admittedly, when I take breaks from YouTube. It never makes sense logistically, or and often it doesn't make sense financially. But it's just like I don't know. I'm a weirdo, I guess. I just kind of do what feels right, and it doesn't always make sense to everybody else. But I have taken many breaks from YouTube. It's not that I ever felt like I stopped doing anything. I have also, YouTube has changed a lot over the years, and the kinds of things that I used to post before 2010, a lot of those things just don't make sense on the platform anymore. And I don't think that'll always be the case. YouTube is always now YouTube runs on algorithms. That was also not always the case. That was the first several years of my channel existing. Everything was organic reach. Everything was organic curation or organic editorial. And now everything's algorithmically curated, and there's many good reasons for that. I'm not like anti-algorithm or anything, but there are very clear differences between YouTube and the way YouTube operates and the way YouTube curates content from prior to the algorithmic curation versus after the algorithmic curation. The algorithms just kind of, and it's not fair to blame it all on the algorithms. YouTube also has this exploding audience where there's like so many channels. What else are they supposed to do with all these channels other than, curate algorithmically to an extent? And they're always playing with the algorithm. So to be clear, it's not that I ever stopped posting videos. I've just taken a lot of breaks, And this last break that I'm coming off of was by far my longest break. And the reason for that break was a lot different than the others. I was recently divorced. The last 4 years of my channel's silence, to be honest, like a lot of it was just because I didn't feel too funny in those years. I didn't feel, those weren't very funny years for me. And it was hard for me to find inspiration during those years. And so I focused on working for hire as a producer. Again, that's my background. So my story is very complicated. It's not a straightforward answer, but those are some breadcrumbs of information starting from when I started my YouTube channel to today. So in other words, in short, none of the breaks were for the same reason, and some of them were longer than others, and some of them were for personal reasons, and some of them were because of changes on the platform. But none of it was 100% anything. It was all a strange equation. Okay, so next question. That was a good question. Took a while to answer, but a good question. Let's see what's next. Am I going to do more sketches again? Yes, I get this question a lot too. I will make more sketches. It may or may not ever be like it was in the early days of YouTube, because that was, again, a very different platform. I've tried to make it clear here that I'll never stop posting sketches. I mean, even in the middle of my last major break, I released a couple sketches like Straight Rights, and I think that might have been the only one actually. But making sketches is something I'll always love doing. It's kind of my first love. So I'll never be done making little shorts. But I don't know if that answers the question. BJ Duncan asks a similar question. Do I plan on making any more sketches or continuing these kinds of live streams? Yeah, so to be very clear, like, it would be so silly and nonsensical of me to just not do anything with this channel, because I spent over a decade building it. And it's always just like, when I'm not using it, it's just like sitting there taunting me to use it. So it's part of the reason why I'm so excited about live streaming, because there's so many ways we can use live streaming to make things and maintain communities and whatnot. So live streaming is something I'm very much excited about. I've been trying to do a lot of live streams here to kind of lean into that. It's kind of a frontier. In a lot of ways, live streaming on YouTube today is what it was like to post random sketches on YouTube 15 years ago. That's live streaming today. It's like this wild west of like, what is it going to become? I believe in live streaming. I think it's amazing what a transparent and immediate way to connect with people and make things. Live streaming is something that I'm not very good at personally, but I believe in it, and I'm going to get better at it. I'm learning, and I'm just kind of chill with the whole thing. So I hope the live streams are fun. I'm trying to do more fun live streams like this outside of just Anonymous Live. But for anybody who's listening that has not understood Anonymous Live, you will understand Anonymous Live in time. If you don't understand it yet, you will in time. It's just it's not entertainment. It's not entertaining, is what I like to say. It's not the point. That's not the point to entertain people. The point is to learn about what the world is like. Learn about what people go through. Learn about what people are thinking about when they're at home alone. And the philosophy of it is like, we all have like this expectation from socializing, where like people don't always feel safe to say exactly what's on their mind in a social setting, because there's these rules we have in society. So Anonymous Live is kind of this place where we protect people with anonymity, and we try to create a space where people feel safe telling us exactly what's on their mind, what they're worried about, what they're passionate about, and try to keep politics and ideologies out of it. So that's why I came back so heavy with Anonymous Live, and that's been the most prominent live stream here on the channel. But I am trying to balance that out with some more fun things, because of course, like, I'm a goofy guy. So, and I'm trying to do that more of those kinds of streams here, and I plan on doing more. We will be doing another prank stream on Wednesday, by the way. The next prank stream will be this Wednesday at 3 p.m. Central. Okay, next, let's see here. What else is there? My mods are saying Seth Meyers had a good question. I'm trying to find Seth Meyers. Oh, okay, I see it. Seth says, would you mind getting into some financial nuts and bolts on how you managed to make your passion a career? It's obviously expensive living in LA. How did you make it work? That is a great question. How did I make it work? Honestly, I was maybe an exception, so I wouldn't take my answer on this as a rule, but in my case, I was in the right place at the right time with the right amount of stubbornness and determination, and all odds were against me. I was living in my parents' house when I was 20 years old, making YouTube videos, and my parents were like, this was, mind you, this was before the days when YouTube was monetizable at all. No one was monetized on YouTube at this time. This would have been like 2000. Gosh, it's only a guess, but it would have been like 2006 or 7. And I was making YouTube videos in my parents' house, and they're like, "What are you doing? You're 20 years old. Like, you need a job or go to school." That was the ultimatum they gave me: get a job or go to school. And I was telling them, "Look, like this thing is gonna work. It's gonna make money." And they were like, "How? Like, how do people make money on YouTube?" This was before anybody was doing it. And so I was. A lot of it may have been a gamble on my part. Again, that's why I'm saying, like, maybe don't take my answer on this as a rule, but you asked and I'll answer. I was in the right place at the right time with the right amount of determination and stubbornness, and I believed in it. And I just kept doing it, even though none of it made sense. A lot of times you have to do things that don't make sense to everyone in order to get ahead and in order to be successful. It's not to say you have to like step on people. Of course, like I wouldn't, that's not what I mean by that at all. Like I'm saying, like you have to, I guess you could say I was stepping on my parents by staying at their house rent free, and they were telling me to get a job, and I was like, no, this is going to work. You could say that, but my point is that like I think that you have to really believe in something. There's actually a quote I really like. I can't remember who said this, but there's a quote about being an artist professionally. I want to say it was someone we were actually trying to figure that. We were referencing this same quote on Anonymous Live recently. I think it's Meryl Streep or someone like that said, do not do this work unless you absolutely have to. And I think what's beautiful about that quote is, as I've gotten older, I've realized that it doesn't simply mean what I thought it meant when I heard it 10, 15 years ago. I used to think it meant like people shouldn't be a professional artist unless they have no other options. Now I believe what it means is that like if there's something inside of you that you have to say, if there's something inside of you that you feel like just completely, entirely compelled to do, that's what being an artist is. And no one should try to be a professional artist unless they simply have no choice, unless their brain is like unless their brain is commanding them, like, you have to do this. This is like all you can do and feel good about. And even within that, that doesn't mean, of course, obviously that doesn't mean there will be more people who have that burning passion than there will be people who can actually become successful artists. So it's not to say that that feeling should be some kind of indicator that you actually have to do it. Life has a way of serving us things that we don't always, we're not always prepared for. Life is a beautiful series of surprises and adventures that you never saw coming. So, I don't know if that answers the question or not, but That's kind of how I think about that when people ask me that question. It's not a straightforward answer. You kind of have to be in the right place at the right time with the right amount of stubbornness, and just not stop giving up. You had to be really stubborn. All right, let's see. Where were we? Rambo Fletcher says, do you think you'd make more sketch videos if those videos were more rewarded in today's YouTube ecosystem? Loving the live streams. Yeah, for sure. I would certainly make more YouTube sketches if they made sense here. I mean, YouTube sketches are expensive. It's at least a I wouldn't say most, but it's at least a sizable part of the equation for why I don't post sketches anymore. The other part of the equation is I've made hundreds of them at this point. So, and I'm way too, there's way too many things I'm interested in. I get bored really easily. So I make music. I like taking pictures. I like, there's so many different things I like spending my time doing. So it's not simply that YouTube doesn't reward it like they used to, but that is a great point, and that is a big reason why I don't post as many anymore, because sketches are expensive to make. Some of them cost thousands of dollars to produce, so you can't, like, at some point it just doesn't make sense to do them anymore if they don't get featured. So that is a astute observation, I would say. I keep losing my place in this chat. It keeps moving. I'm trying to get to some good good questions, but also not skip too much. I want to get to as many of these as I can. And there have been pretty much only good questions I've seen so far, but I keep getting lost. Bear with me as I scroll back up a little bit. A lot of questions about posting sketches. Am I answering those questions for you guys? I'm a little further back in the YouTube chat at this point, but will you leave a comment? I'll get to it in a minute. I'm not there right now, but if I haven't answered those previous questions clearly enough, let me know if you want more detail, and I'm happy to share more. I also don't want to belabor a point that I've already made. So if you want more detail, just feel free to put another question in the chat, and I will get to it. Mother June wants to know why my marriage ended. Marriage is risky business. It's people change, people grow apart, people. It's complicated. My specific situation was very complicated, and to be honest, I would not feel comfortable going into detail on that here in this way, because it would violate my former wife's privacy. So I feel morally obligated to just simply say that marriage is complicated, very complicated. If you're young, you mentioned you're young and you're curious, which is why you're asking. And I would just say, be very careful and take a lot of time before getting married, because people change a lot, and yeah, nobody gets married because they want to get divorced. Yeah. Good question, though. What camera bodies and other lenses have I used since 2006? This question comes from David Klink. You have a unique style and color grade. So I've used many different cameras over the years. It's not really about the camera you use, is what I would say. It's how you use it. I mean, there are so many movies shot on ARRI Alexas that look horrible, and I've seen things and personally shot things that look better than some of these bad examples on DSLRs. It's all about lighting. It's all about what focal lengths you use and how you use them. It's a great question. You got to be careful. Get me started on a question like that, because that would take up the whole live stream. Great to hear a technical question. But yeah, just to answer it simply, I've used, my first camera that I used on the channel was an HVX 200 Red Rock hybrid system, which I don't know if anybody here even remembers those things. I wonder, actually, can I show that picture? I think I have it somewhere. I might be able to show the original camera that I used on my original sketches. It was hilariously large. I got so buff using this thing. Let me see if I can find it. If you guys want to see, just give me a second and I'm pretty sure I can get it.
All right.
This camera technology has changed so much. I'll try to answer more of the question while I'm looking for this photo. HVX 200 Red Rock setup, and then also I used a Canon 7D when that thing first came out, and then I used a Canon C300, and then I used
sharpening. Let me just.
Then I used. I think you guys are probably hearing all this stuff on my computer. I'm sorry if you are. I'm scrolling for this picture. I used Canon C300. I used a red Scarlet for a while, and then I got rid of the red Scarlet because I was like, man, this thing is just way too much maintenance and trouble to keep around. And ever since then, ever since owning I've owned a few serious cameras over the years, and I've just stopped owning serious cameras because they're way too much work to maintain, and they're way too simple to rent from someone who just maintains them themselves. So to this day, I don't. I kind of refuse now, as a rule, to own big, huge cameras because it's too much work. And I'm struggling to find this picture of my original camera that was so hilariously large. This thing must have been like 40 pounds. It was so big. I can't find the picture, but I'll find it somewhere. I've posted this picture on Twitter before. It's probably not worth spending time on. Okay, so let's see. Let's go and keep going here. What inspired me to make my older videos? I guess that means my sketches from back in the day. This comes from QAZ00. Again, guys, I'm still way far behind in the chat. I may not get to everything in the next 30 minutes, but these are all great questions that came out right out of the gate up top. I was really inspired by unstable personalities in my original videos, really inspired by the chaos of the world and the nonsensical way people communicate and the fallacies in communication that people just overlook. All that stuff's super funny to me. Okay, skipping ahead. What inspired me to do the philosophical podcast a few years ago? I believe Tobias here is referring to Spellbound. Spellbound was the product of a lot of curiosity about the world that I had when I started Spellbound. It was on the heels of several years of studying and research I had to do, not because I was responsible for it, but I just simply needed to understand certain things. I grew up really sheltered, but I was like a very what's the right word? I was a very curious and open-minded kind of sheltered, where I kind of always had this feeling growing up that I would, that one day the world would make more sense than it was being presented to me at the time as a kid. I kind of always had this sense that things didn't make sense, but that things could make more sense, but it was going to take time. And so I started Spellbound kind of for people who grew up like me, who had curiosities about the world, and it was kind of a way for me to interview authors and philosophers and scientists that I admired, and people who helped me. It was a way for me to kind of interview people like that, and I wanted to make things where people could go back and revisit conversations like that. And I also kind of selfishly wanted, Spellbound is probably my most selfish project, because I personally just had questions for some of these people. Most of the people on Spellbound are people who I'm a huge fan of. So I did Spellbound in part to be able to ask questions to these people, and for those answers to be available publicly. But also, it was just something I really wanted to do. And there will be more Spellbound episodes in the future. It's not like that there's a can on Spellbound or anything. Okay, let's see. Gonna keep going. What are my favorite YouTubers? This comes from VSGGL. I don't really honestly watch anything. I don't watch any YouTube. I especially don't watch any YouTube. It's not because I don't like it. It's just like I don't watch anything. I don't consume anything. I drive in silence. I don't listen to music in my car. I drive in complete silence. I like making things. And if I'm not doing anything, if I have free time, I just want to make things. Music, I can't. I have some favorite movies that I'll revisit once a year or something, like, like some movies I'll watch twice a year maybe. But I don't watch TV. I don't watch YouTube. I don't go to movies. I would much rather be making something than watching something someone else has made. I'm just weird. There's probably something wrong with me. Okay, next question. Any notable productions I have worked on that you may know of? This comes from Samuel Condi. Anything that I made, anything that I produced that you might know of would be a commercial. And commercials are funny because there's no credits in commercials. And there's no IMDb pages for commercial producers. I've made a bunch of commercials for a bunch of big brands you may or may not have seen. Very few things I've made off of YouTube without my face in it. So unless my face was in it, unless my face was in it, it should be pretty clear if I'm a part of something, because usually people want me to act in it. There's been several occasions where I've been like, no, I'm not right to be in this, and I'll produce a commercial and not be in it. But I don't know. Interesting question. Yeah, that's part of why I stepped away for so long on this last break, is I was doing a bunch of commercial work, and so I the last 4 or 5 years pretty much just been producing commercials. So you may have seen some of those. Man, I'm so behind on this chat. Let's see, trying to catch up. Okay, I have now lost. I'm now being forced to catch up to the current question. So if you posted a comment 10 minutes or so ago, I can no longer see those. I'm now being forced to move ahead. Okay, here's a good question from BJ Duncan. How did you go about filming you arm wrestling yourself? This question gets at a video from 2010, it must have been, called You in 5 Minutes, a sketch I made called You in 5 Minutes, where it starts with me arm wrestling myself. There's 2 of me, and I'm arm wrestling myself. And then the sketch kind of devolves into realizing that there are, for whatever reason, multiple iterations of myself coming into picture and introducing themselves. It's like there's me, and then there's me in 5 minutes, me in 10 minutes, and me in an hour, I think it was. But the sketch opens with a shot of me arm wrestling myself. That was one of the hardest effects on my entire channel. It was a very complicated system, but it was also very ghetto. It was so super ghetto. But it worked, and it worked great. I had made some kind of green pole. I think it was out of conduit, electrical conduit. I took some conduit and painted it chroma key green, and I made some kind of apparatus that could sit on a table, like a little pole that had something I could grab onto, kind of like this little thing. Like I could just, this thing doesn't go high enough, but I could kind of hold it like this, and that thing was locked, so it wouldn't move. So I filmed myself on each side arm wrestling that thing and kind of struggling with it. And then I had a metronome going. All that whole sketch, that whole scene of that sketch was ADR, meaning we recorded the dialogue later. We filmed the sketch with no audio, and then I recorded the dialogue later. The reason being that it wasn't enough for me to have just a prop that was locked with me arm wrestling on both sides of it. That wasn't enough, because there was also dialogue happening. Like I was talking to that person. I was talking to two different versions of myself. So I had to have some way to keep track of time passing, so that we could time the dialogue so that the characters weren't talking over each other. So it was a really complicated ghetto thing that I just kind of came up with, of like this little apparatus that we were using to arm wrestle. It was kind of serving as a hand, and then also a metronome that was, a metronome is like it's a musical thing. It keeps track of time. It's like, it kind of keeps track of beats per minute. So we had a metronome going in the room, and there was some math. I can't remember the exact math now. That was so long ago, but there was some math attributed to the metronome so that I knew when I had to say certain things. That was all done by metronome. So that's a great question. I've never shared that anywhere, but that's how we did it. Looks like some of these old questions are back again, or maybe I just got mixed up. I don't know. Seems like I actually am still a little bit behind the current chat. Broken asks, do I have any plans on doing long feature films in the near future? It's so funny, because when I first started making YouTube sketches, all I could think about was making a movie one day. And with the way the entertainment industry has evolved, like, I could not care less if I ever make a movie. I hope that doesn't depress anybody to hear that. I may still end up making one day, but I'm way more interested in the human attention span and how that's changing with digital content. People, like, the movie industry is not doing too well. The only thing people go to the theaters for are Marvel movies, basically. So it's like, and I'm not into Marvel movies, so it's kind of a hard answer for me. But it's, I guess I would say, yeah, I would love to make a movie if it were the right kind of movie. I have written some screenplays and shopped them around in years past, but the industry is just so different now, and people don't go to the theaters anymore. So it's a really weird time for movies, and I'm okay if I never make one, but I probably will. That would be my guess. Rebecca Burlew asks, how did I come up with the idea for Anonymous Live? Did you have any fears or concerns before fully committing to do this? This is a great question. Anonymous Live, I've talked about this before on Anonymous Live, but for those who may not watch it, I started Anonymous Live because I'm a guy who has just been through some really hard to understand things. This is exactly what I was getting at when I was saying earlier that people don't really open up in social settings, because it feels like there's these like social rules, and it's not like people don't feel comfortable, and so I wanted a place like Anonymous Live, because there were years, 10 to 5 years ago where I would have wanted, where I did want, and it didn't exist. I did want a place exactly like Anonymous Live, where if there was anything keeping me up at night, or something that I just needed to get off my chest, or someone that could listen and help me process something anonymously, and get support from not just one person, like in the style of therapy, but also in like the sense of a forum where I could get feedback from lots of people. This is something I've wanted and actually sought out many times in the last decade, and it just didn't exist. And so I just made it. And, again, that's why I say it's not entertainment and it's not entertaining because it's not the point. The point is to just do something where people can realize that like what is presented socially, what we present in social settings is not really ourselves. It's not really us. It's like it kind of is. It's like it's a virtue signaling reflection of yourself. And when you're at a party or something, you're kind of like, I wanted a place where it's free of virtue signals, free of, I believe this, they believe that, free of all that. And just like, what is really on your mind? What do you think about all day, really? If there's one thing we've shown with Anonymous Live, it's that every damn night we do it, people keep calling in, and the stories are just so unbelievable. So yeah, I think that's a great question. Hope that answers the question. I did it because I've wanted something like that. Okay, David Clink asks, thoughts on YouTube Shorts / TikTok as a creative avenue of storytelling? Have you thought of dipping your toes in? I'm not sure what you mean by that precisely. I guess you mean like the shorter, like the TikTok style content that's everywhere right now. Yeah, I'm not really interested in that stuff. I think it's horrible for people's brains. I might get in some trouble for saying this, but I think it's horrible for people's brains. I mean, even in China, think about this. In China, that stuff's super regulated. If you're under the age of 18, you cannot use TikTok after, I think it's 9 p.m. It might be even earlier. They shut it down for their developing youth because of this, because it's not good for your brain. And not only that, but also because they want their kids, their young adult, they're the people that are about to become adults, they want those people to be focused on learning trades like engineering and the arts and practical things with practical use cases. And it's one of my concerns for America is like we just don't give a crap. We just like let our kids. We're happy to pacify our kids and just give them a phone and be like, oh, watch TikTok or whatever the hell you want. Just it's like it seems to be the spirit behind. Like it just worries me. I'm not anti many things, and I'm not anti TikTok, and I'm not anti YouTube Shorts, to be very clear. But I'm just not interested in it because it doesn't seem like there's like I don't understand what the value is. There's no value in it. If the value, I mean, there's value in a laugh for sure. There's value in the good chemicals from a laugh, but there's only so much you can do in that short of a time, and the kind of content that it seems to feature is just not something I'm interested in at all. I do believe that will be a very short-lived, these super short styles of content. I believe they'll be a very short-lived fad. That's my belief. I'm on record saying that now. Mark my words. People don't want to be entertained for 60 seconds. I don't even know how long a TikTok is. I think it's 60 seconds. It might be shorter. I don't think people actually like that. Okay, moving on. Marley Williamson asks a question about Techno Jeep, asking how long it took to make. It took, I think there is some detail on this in the actual video description of that video, but it took a couple months. It started with me arranging sounds from the Jeep. I recorded a bunch of stock sounds and then arranged them in a sequencer. And then I had a bunch of percussionists take that demo I made and practice their parts. I stripped out each track from the song into... I made a version I basically made a version of the demo track for each percussionist. So the percussionist on the back left door got a version of the track with the entire track turned down and their part turned way up, so they could tell which part they needed to practice, slamming doors and whatnot. And we had people rehearse on their own for a couple weeks. I think it might have been 3 weeks. We gave people 3 weeks to get comfortable with their parts, and then we filmed it all together. And it took 30 something. I think it was like high 30s. It was almost 40 takes for us to get it right. Great question. Floppy Cheesy 96 says, are there any jokes/skits you regret doing or didn't think aged well? I would say no. I'd be open to feedback on that. If there's criticism, I'd be all ears, but I would say no. I'm pretty much happy with all of it. I think I'm really happy with the line that it seems I've been able to walk with, poking fun at things without being mean or nasty. Like it's actually not that complicated. I'm just not a nasty person. Like I care. If anything, I'm terrified I'm going to offend someone. So I try to be really careful, but I also just can't resist a good joke. So yeah, I think I feel good about everything I've put out. But I'd be all ears if anybody has any thoughts on that. BN asks what I did during my absence from YouTube. I've kind of gotten to some of that already a little bit, but I'll answer it again in a different way. Mainly I was producing commercials and just different projects for different clients. Not all of it was commercials. Most of it was commercials. That's what I was working on this last biggest hiatus. Actually, pretty much all of my hiatuses from YouTube, I've just been working on commercials. Commercials are awesome because just like they're the biggest budgets. All the toys are there. Yeah, sky's the limit. Whatever the client wants, they get. I love that. And also I like advertising because it's a really difficult negotiation between the client, because the client has things they want and they have the money to spend, but they don't know how to achieve the things they want. And so then you've got like a creative agency who's coming up with ideas on how to best position different products and the value they have. And then you've got a production company. These are all 3 separate entities. And the production company has certain goals with the production. They want the production to be as beautiful as possible. And they're not concerned about the creative at all. They're just like the construction company of the building, if you will, whereas the creative agency is more like the architect. And then you've got the client. And call me weird. A lot of people, this is actually what most people hate about advertising, but what I love about advertising is that it's this complicated negotiation between 3 powerhouses where you've got the client and the agency and the production company. And when you're on a commercial set, it can be complete chaos because you got 3 different people there with money that they're investing and time they're investing and teams they're bringing into the project, and things can get really heated really quick. But I actually really love that because I don't know why it is that I love that, but I love, to be clear, I don't love tension or getting in arguments. I like the challenge of creating something that everyone can walk away happy with. I love that challenge. That's why I love advertising. It's like some of the hardest creative production work that exists, if not the hardest. It probably is the hardest. And there's no credit in it. There's no credits. I just love all of that. Okay. How did I get the meeting with James Cameron? BN asks this question. I think BN has asked a couple good questions. That came about. How did that come about? My manager, I think my manager put me on got me in front of James Cameron. I think it was my manager And I thought, like, how can I utilize this in the most bizarre way possible? That was my goal with that video that we made with James, was to just make it as awkward and the opposite of what anyone would expect. I wanted people to see a different side of him, but he's quite committed to being James Cameron. I think he did a good job of just being himself. Guys, I'm going to miss so many questions. I apologize in advance. I'm skipping ahead here a little bit to try to see what you guys are saying more recently. I feel like I'm stuck in the past a little bit. I'm going to catch up. We've got about 12 minutes left here. Lime asks, did I go to school to learn about video production, or was I more self-taught and learned as I went? I've never had any formal training, never been to college or anything. I've just made a lot of mistakes. I can tell you all the things not to do. That's how I learn. I'm a button presser. I'm like, what does that button do? Oh, we're not supposed to touch that button, it looks like. That's how I learn. BJ Duncan can't believe I drive in complete silence. What's so hard to believe about that? It's so relaxing. So peaceful. You should also see my insurance rates. They are stellar because I do not get into accidents. I've had a couple accidents. Okay, let's see here. What movies do I watch when I do watch? This question comes from Amy. Well, that's a great question. I'll show you right here what I watch. This little coaster that I'm using it as a coaster, but this is one of my favorite movies of all time. This is the DVD for There Will Be Blood. This is one of my favorite movies of all time by P.T. Anderson. P.T. Anderson is amazing, incredible filmmaker. There Will Be Blood is an amazing movie. It doesn't. It's an odd name because it's kind of marketed as like by the title you would think it's some kind of horror movie or something. That's not at all what it is. I think that's why I love the title, actually, because it's so it's so like misleading's the wrong word and deceiving's the wrong word, but it's not what you think it is. Amazing movie. If you haven't seen it, you got to watch There Will Be Blood. I also am a huge fan of what other movies am I a huge fan of? What movies do I watch regularly? Back to the Future, number one, amazing movie. One of the best movies ever, in my opinion. I also love Empire Strikes Back. That's the best Star Wars movie, period. That's not up for debate. It's the best one. Empire Strikes Back. What else? I don't watch that one, though. That's just, I'm trying to think of ones I could mention that people would know. I watch a lot of weird stuff people might not know. Let's see. I like, I really love Totoro. I've loved so much enjoying Totoro with my kids. And watching them enjoy it. Totoro is an amazing movie. Even if you're like an adult by yourself, you should just watch Totoro. Amazing movie. My Neighbor Totoro. Amazing. Let's see, what else do I like? I'm really bad at these questions. I love Spielberg. I love P.T. Anderson. I love, Being John Malkovich. Great movie, Being John Malkovich. If you haven't seen that, you got to watch Being John Malkovich by Charlie Kaufman, written by Charlie Kaufman. I think Spike Jonze directed that. I could be wrong. Charlie Kaufman, anything written by Charlie Kaufman is my favorite movie, pretty much. Adaptation by Charlie Kaufman, amazing movie. You got to watch Adaptation. You got to watch Being John Malkovich. Got to watch There Will Be Blood. Got to watch. Try to think of one more weird one. I don't know. I'm bad at that kind of questions. Those kind of questions. I'll come back to that. We're going to try to make up some time here. Duh, thanks. He says, he or she says, I don't know how you identify. They say, I'll be honest, the fact that you consume nothing is a tad weird. Yeah, maybe. I'm like a monk. I don't like to do anything. KO asks what my favorite tea is. I love oolong tea. Oolong tea is probably my favorite, but I don't drink oolong the most. I drink black tea the most because I'm not a big coffee drinker. I drink black tea in the mornings, but there's few things I love more than an oolong with lunch in the middle of the day. Amazing. I just want to like walk forever when I drink oolong. I just want to go on the longest walk. Blackish 2, I think I'm reading that right, says, what's the most expensive sketch on my channel? It would probably be Reservation, the one where I'm getting shot by arrows. Or I couldn't actually tell you offhand. I'd have to check some records, but it would probably be Reservation or maybe I'm reading a book. I'm reading a book was pretty expensive. I'm reading a book took like 3 months to make. It was probably one of those two, would be my guess offhand. Actually, that's not true. Well, that would be the most sketch. That would be the most expensive sketch, but the most expensive video on my channel would be the B Story music video for back then. That one was that's the most expensive piece of original content, meaning not a commercial, on my entire channel. That video was hella expensive. Joshua Fish indeed says, my friend Tim sent you a duct tape wallet and letter back in 2011. And though you never responded, we joke that you still use it to this day. Can you confirm this theory and give us closure? Joshua and Tim, I'm really sorry. I honestly don't know what you're talking about, but I use a leather wallet. I use a very low profile leather wallet. Doesn't even take cash. That's actually one of my grievances about it, but I don't like a thick wallet. I don't use the duct tape wallet. I don't even remember that wallet, but I used to get so much fan mail that I couldn't even possibly open everything. Like I would literally, back in that time you mentioned, I would literally go to the post office and I would be sent out with 2 pallets of mail. 2 pallets, 2 crates. So I couldn't, there were so many things that, in fact, this is actually the story King Batch loves to tell about me. If you guys know the YouTuber King Batch, he now razzes me because he's like way more. His channel's way bigger than mine. I believe it is. And he grew up on my videos and he apparently sent me some kind of like life-size cutout of himself in 2010, and I never saw it. And he like thought I was the biggest jerk, and then we became friends years later. Once his channel came up and got really big, we met at some party or something. I can't remember how we met actually, but he told me that story. He was like, "Yeah, I sent you a life-size cutout of myself in 2010, and you never opened it on your channel," and I was so mad. And I was like, "Oh man, I'm really sorry. I literally never saw that." So I'm really sorry to say that I don't remember the duct tape wallet. Okay, we got a couple minutes left here. Cobbler Nick asks an interesting question. He says, do I ever feel like I have to put on an act or facade when on camera, or do I feel natural on camera and like myself? I kind of minced those words to put it back to camera the way he put it to me in chat. But it's a great question. My on-camera persona has definitely evolved from back in the day, especially with live stuff. Not so much with acting. I mean, if I'm acting, acting is acting. But I remember I did a couple of live streams in like 2008 where it just did not feel natural to me at all. And it's part of the reason I didn't really do any other live streams until very recently, because it just was like I think I probably wasn't, my guess would be I wasn't comfortable, or like I hadn't gotten comfortable on camera enough by that point to just learn to, and now my challenge is I'm too comfortable. Like I'm way too sloppy with all of this, admittedly. And I see it all the time in the comments, people saying like, hey, get your shit together. I'm just, that's what I love about the live thing that's evolving online right now is, it's so immediate. It's so, you can just see people in their element, and you can tell. I think it's pretty easy to tell if someone's putting on maybe it's easy for me to tell because I direct people for a living, and that's like what I've done for most of my life. For me, it's very easy to tell if someone's acting or putting on some kind of facade, or if they're being a version of themselves that's natural. For me, that is like, I can tell in 5 seconds of watching someone, if they're even in person, I can. I don't know if everybody is like that, or if it's just me because I've spent so much time working with actors and stuff, but I think I've answered the question. I'm definitely way too relaxed with all of this, admittedly, but I just kind of like to go at my own pace. So I'm very comfortable doing these lives. And I used to not be. That's my point. Okay, it's 5 o'clock here where I am. I'm going to answer one more question. Scroll through here. I'm trying to go to the end here and look for something more recent. I'm going to answer one more. There's some funny questions in here. Some of these don't warrant answers, guys. I am going to answer one more. Not saying they're bad questions. Okay, this is the last question I'll be answering for today. This one's from Steel Tarleton. It says, how do you choose which projects you want to make, and how do you keep yourself from getting distracted by other projects and dropping the old ones? I just tend to hyper focus on things that I really believe in. I've always been that way. I'm not sure if that's relatable for anyone or not. I don't know if that's normal or not. But I just like, when I get zeroed in on something, nothing else exists in terms of a project. So it's the same reason. The reason I chose this is because this has been a common theme in the questions today, and it gets at why I have left YouTube so many times, why I've stopped posting here so many times. It gets at this question. When I'm really focused on something, I kind of have a one-track mind, and I just lean into it entirely. So it doesn't take any effort for me to focus on one thing at a time. It comes from a place of really believing in something and just leaning into it with everything. I've always been like that, and I imagine I probably always will be. So right now I'm leaning into live streaming. I want to be bringing a bunch of new lives here, not just the anonymous live streams. The anonymous live streams, again, like I want to acknowledge it as if I haven't said it enough, that like that's not it was never going to be enough here, but it was the first project for me back here on YouTube because I really care about it. But I'm really leaning into lives right now because I think it's fascinating. I think live streaming is fascinating, and I love the immediacy of it, and how much interaction is possible with it. I mean, live content has been popular for a lot longer than it's been around on YouTube, of course. But what's possible in a YouTube live stream, like you could never do this before. Like people posting stuff and like I'm here live, like you watch someone you like and you can ask questions and it can become part of the content. Like that's unbelievable that we can do that today. And I very much want to be a part of that, at the evolution of that medium. So that's why I'm leaning into these lives. We got a bunch more stuff we'll be testing in the next year. So great question. And thank you guys all. Thanks to all of you for all the questions you asked. There were so many good questions in here. I'm sorry I couldn't get to all of them, but maybe we'll do more of these. Maybe I'll do another one and another surprise AMA in 8 years again. That was a hilarious joke. And as usual, I am behind on referencing just how hilarious it was. Thanks guys so much for being here. I hope it was entertaining seeing some of these, hearing some of these stories about some of the props from years past. And I never shared any of that before. And we got some great questions that I've never been able to answer before. So I appreciate you guys asking those questions. And we will do another one of these much sooner than in 8 years. Maybe we'll do one in a couple months or something, whatever feels right. But I really enjoyed this, and we'll see you guys tomorrow night for Anonymous Live at 9 p.m. Central. And then don't forget, on Wednesday, 3 p.m. Central, we're going to be prank calling more people. We've got so many submissions, and we're going to get into some trouble. So don't forget, 3 p.m. on Wednesday, Central Time, 9 p.m. tomorrow. See you guys there. Take care.